Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're locked in on a really fascinating forecast. It's a detailed predictive analysis for the Premier League match between Arsenal and Newcastle United coming up May 18th, 2025.
hmm
You shared this report, and it's powered by some serious analytical firepower, the Gambler's Ruin Project and their SmartBet AI technology.
That's right. And this isn't your usual pundit chat.
Yeah, definitely not.
This goes way deeper, diving into the data, the algorithms, trying to figure out what might actually happen on the pitch. It's less about gut feeling, more about, well, the numbers.
Exactly. This isn't just a guess. We're looking at a whole toolkit, really.
hmm
Statistical models, machine learning,
Yeah.
things like Poisson regression,
Yeah, for predicting scores.
Elo ratings for team strength, then the big ML ones,
Yeah.
random forest, XGBoost, even neural networks.
Right, the multi-layer perceptron.
And then they kind of combine them all. A stacked ensemble plus Monte Carlo simulations to play the game out thousands of times.
Yeah. So our mission today is really to unpack all of that, see what these models are pointing towards, and understand the story the data might be telling us.
It's a great example of how data science is tackling football, isn't it? Trying to find those hidden patterns.
For sure. It's fascinating stuff.
Okay, let's get down to the specifics then. Arsenal versus Newcastle United. It's at the Emirates in London, May 18th, 2025. Kickoff is 11:40 a.m. Eastern, so that's 4:30 p.m. UK time.
Got it.
And the weather looks pretty, well, unremarkable. Around 70 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, a bit of wind, maybe 10 mile per hour, but gusts up to 23. Low chance of rain, though.
Okay, so the conditions probably won't be a huge deciding factor.
Seems unlikely. It's good they factor it in, though, shows the detail.
Definitely.
What is potentially more significant, though, are the injuries. Both teams have got some notable absences.
Ah, right. Always key.
For Arsenal, Kai Havertz, forward thigh injury. The report says expected return is May 18th, them match day. So that's one to watch, could be touch and go.
Interesting.
Then Albert Sambi-Lokonga, midfield, hamstring, out till end of June. Gabriel D, defender, thigh, mid-July. Rice Nelson, forward, thigh, early June. And Takehiro Tomiyasu, defender, knee issue. He's out till October. So that's quite a few for Arsenal.
Yeah, that's a fair list.
Yeah.
Especially losing defenders like Gabriel and Tomiyasu. That could impact their setup, their stability at the back.
Definitely. Now, Newcastle side, Joelyn Kellington, midfielder, knee, out till end of May. Kieran Trippier, defender, thigh, also end of May. Lloyd Kelly, another defender, hamstring. Potential return just before this game, May 17th.
Another close call then.
Yeah. Matt Target, defender, thigh, early June. Lewis Hall, midfielder, ankle, early July. And Jamal Lewis, defender, ankle, no return date given for him. So Newcastle are dealing with issues too, particularly defensively.
Absolutely. Both squads are coming into this missing key players.
Yeah.
And these injuries, they're crucial context that these predictive models have to somehow account for.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about the engine behind this prediction. This SmartBet AI, it uses a hybrid approach. What does that actually mean, sort of under the hood?
Yeah, good question. So think of it like this. They're not just relying on one single method. They're mixing traditional stats models like that Poisson regression we mentioned, which is good for goal counts, with these more advanced machine learning classifiers. Things like random forest, XGBoost.
Okay.
The idea is that the stats models give a solid baseline, maybe for goal probabilities, while the machine learning can pick up on more, let's say, complex patterns in the data to predict the actual result: win, draw, lose.
So combining different strengths, and what kind of data are they feeding into this hybrid system?
A lot. It's pretty comprehensive. They use something called bootstrapped Poisson models. That helps estimate the expected goals for each team. But crucially, it gives a range, like a confidence interval. It acknowledges the uncertainty.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Not just one number.
Exactly. And they run Monte Carlo simulations, too. That's like playing the match thousands of times based on those goal rates, just to see how the scores might spread out.
So instead of just Arsenal scores one goal, it's more like, well, based on the sims, they most likely score between 0 and, say, 2, with different probabilities for each.
Precisely. Then they bring in dynamic Elo ratings. You know Elo from chess?
Yeah, vaguely. Ranks players, right?
Kind of like that, but for football teams. Each team starts at, say, 1,500 points. Win, your score goes up. Lose, it goes down. And beating a stronger team gives you a bigger boost than beating a weaker one. It updates constantly.
Right. So if Newcastle pulled off a surprise win here, their Elo would jump up quite a bit.
Exactly. And the report gives the current ratings. Arsenal are at 1707.04, and Newcastle are 1642.45.
Okay, so Elo sees Arsenal as the stronger team overall, based on historical results.
Yeah, independent of just this season's form or these specific injuries, it's a longer-term strength measure.
Makes sense. What else is the AI looking at?
A whole host of what they call contextual team features. So recent form, points per game, basically. Expected goals, or XG, which measures chance quality.
Right.
Home or away advantage, that's a classic one. The number of injuries, which we've covered. Goal efficiency, how good are they at actually converting chances, and even betting market odds. They convert those odds into probabilities.
Wow, okay. They really are trying to cover all the angles.
It seems like it's a very holistic view. And then for the actual win or lose prediction, that's where those machine learning models come in again. Random forest, XG boost, and the MLP neural network.
Right.
And they mentioned using specific techniques too, like M&AD. That helps if, say, draws are much rarer in the data than wins or losses. It stops the model getting biased.
Okay.
And grid search, which is basically a way to fine-tune the models, trying out different settings to get the best performance.
So heavy-duty stuff to try and make the predictions as accurate as possible. And they also mentioned cleaning the data. Fuzzy matching.
Yeah, that's crucial. Things like fuzzy matching and Unicode normalization.
Yeah.
It's just making sure the data they feed in is consistent, like team names spelled slightly differently, player names.
Yeah.
They need to clean that up so the models aren't confused by typos or variations. Garbage in, garbage out, right?
Right. Gotta have clean data for these sophisticated models. Okay, so let's get into what these individual models actually predicted. First up, Poisson regression. What's the core idea there again?
So Poisson is really good for predicting counts, like goals in a match. SmartBet AI uses it to estimate the expected number of goals for Arsenal and for Newcastle. It considers all those factors we discussed: form, Elo, home advantage, odds, injuries.
Everything.
Yeah, to predict the rate at which each team might score.
Yeah.
And it gives a probability distribution, the chance of scoring 0, 1, 2, etc.
Oh.
Okay. The report has a home Poisson model summary for Arsenal. What jumps out there? Well, a few factors are statistically significant, meaning the model found a real connection. Market probe home, the win probability from betting odds that positively affects predicted goals. Makes sense, right? If the market fancies Arsenal, the model predicts more goals for them.
Sure.
Same for market profits of both teams to score probability. Also positive. Interestingly, the model spits out an average prediction of 0.95 goals for Arsenal in this match.
Just under 1 goal on average.
Yeah.
Okay. And for Newcastle, the UA Poisson model summary.
Similar story, but for the away side. Away advantage has a negative impact, as you'd expect. Teams usually score less away.
Right.
Market prob away and away G. Their historical away goals, those are positive predictors. If the market gives them a chance that they score away historically, the model reflects that. Market props is positive again. And interestingly, their away rating has a negative coefficient here, meaning a lower Elo is linked to fewer predicted away goals.
Oh.
The final number for Newcastle is 0.69 goals.
0.69. So based just on this Poisson analysis, it looks like a really tight, low-scoring game, maybe 1-0-0-0 territory, slight edge to Arsenal on goal expectancy.
That's the baseline it suggests, yeah. But then they do that bootstrap Poisson regression. What does that add?
Right, the bootstrapping. That's about quantifying the uncertainty around those 0.95 and 0.69 numbers. Instead of just taking those single values, they run, I think it was 1,000 simulations.
Yeah, 1,000.
And in each one, they basically draw a random number of goals based on those predicted rates. It's like playing the match statistically many times over to see the range of likely outcomes.
Exactly. It gives you a feel for the possibilities.
And what was the range it found for this game?
For Arsenal's home goals, the bootstrap prediction is very similar, 0.94. But the 95% confidence interval, the likely range is wide.
Okay.
0.00 up to 3.0 goals.
0 to 3.
And for Newcastle's away goals, predicted 0.71. And again, the 95% confidence interval is also 0.000 to 3.00.
Wow. That really hammers home the uncertainty, doesn't it? While the average might be low, the simulations show that, a goalless game or even a 3-goal burst isn't totally impossible for either side.
Exactly right. It captures that inherent randomness in football. Okay, now let's shift to the machine learning models predicting the actual win-draw-lose outcome. First one, random forest. What did it say?
The RF result came out as home win, Arsenal win.
Okay. And the report usually includes a classification report, right?
Yeah.
How well did it do historically?
Yeah, it does. Let's see. Precision recall F1 scores. They're generally around the sort of 0.55 to 0.66 mark for predicting away wins, draws, or home wins in the past. The overall accuracy is listed as 0.61.
61%. So, okay, it leans towards Arsenal, but those scores suggest it's not like a super confident prediction based on past performance. Still quite a bit of room for other outcomes.
That's how I read it too, not a slam dunk. Okay, next model. XG Boost. What did that one predict?
This is interesting. XG Boost actually predicted away win.
Oh, it bucked the trend. Newcastle win.
Yeah. And its classification report. Similar story to Random Forest, actually. Metrics hovering around 0.55 to 0.63, overall accuracy of 0.58.
58%. So we've got two pretty sophisticated ML models looking at similar data, coming to opposite conclusions, and with fairly similar historical accuracy levels. That's prediction for you, I suppose.
It really highlights the challenge, doesn't it? Different algorithms can interpret the same complex data in slightly different ways.
It certainly does. Okay, third ML model, the MLP neural network, the deep learning one. Its verdict.
The MLP also went with home win, back to favoring Arsenal.
Okay.
However, its classification report showed slightly lower performance metrics than the other two. Overall accuracy was 0.51.
51%. So it agrees with Random Forest on the outcome, but maybe with a bit less historical confidence backing it up.
That seems like a fair summary. Now, this brings us to the stacked ensemble, which you mentioned earlier. What's the thinking behind that again?
Combining them. Yeah, exactly. Think of it as like a committee of predictors. It takes the individual predictions from the base models, probably Random Forest, XG Boost, maybe others like logistic regression, and feeds those predictions into a final meta model. And this meta model learns how much weight to give each individual prediction to come up with a final, hopefully more accurate, overall forecast. It tries to leverage the best bits of each model.
Got it. A sort of wisdom of the crowd approach for algorithms. And what did this super predictor decide?
The stacked result is home win.
Okay. Aligning with RF and MLP and its performance.
This is where it gets interesting. The classification report for the stacked model shows the best metrics yet. Overall accuracy of 0.65.
65%.
Oh.
So noticeably better than the individual models. That suggests combining their insights is leading to more reliable predictions, at least based on the historical data they tested it on.
Yeah, that feels like the most robust prediction so far for the Windrawless outcome. Okay, finally, let's circle back to the Monte Carlo simulation. We mentioned it for goals, but what about the overall match result probabilities after those 10,000 simulated matches?
Right. So based on those simulations, using the Poisson goal rates, it generated these probabilities. Home win came out at 40.09%.
40%.
A draw was actually quite high, 34.03%.
34%. Wow. Significant chance of a draw then.
And an away win for Newcastle was 25.88%.
Okay, so the simulation gives Arsenal the edge, aligns with the ensemble in that sense, but really highlights the draw as a major possibility, more so than the individual win probabilities might suggest.
Exactly. And what about the most likely specific score lines from the Monte Carlo?
Let's see. The highest probabilities were 1-0 to Arsenal, that was 19.19%, but right behind it, a 0-0 draw at 19.07%.
Wow. Almost identical probability for those two.
Yeah. Then 0-1 to Newcastle was 13.51%, and a 1-1 draw was 12.54%.
That really paints a picture of a tight, low-scoring affair being the most probable outcome according to these simulations. Very interesting that 1 rule and 0-0 are almost neck and neck.
It really is. So wrapping up the predictions. We've got the stacked ensemble pointing to an Arsenal win with the highest historical accuracy, 65%. The Monte Carlo simulation also gives Arsenal the highest probability win, 40%, but flags a draw, 34%, as very possible and suggests 1-0 Arsenal or 0-0 are the most likely scores.
It's fascinating seeing how the different methods weigh things, isn't it? Sometimes agreeing, sometimes offering different nuances. It really underscores how complex predicting even a single football match is.
Absolutely. And we have to stress, right, these are probabilities. They're based on data, on models. They aren't crystal balls.
Not at all. They're forecasts, not guarantees. Football's unpredictable nature is, well, it's why we watch it.
So you've just taken this deep dive with us into the pretty intricate world of sports prediction. You've seen how these sophisticated techniques, stats, and machine learning get applied to just one Premier League game.
And you've seen how different models can give different perspectives and how combining them, like in that stacked ensemble, might offer a slightly more robust view.
Which leads us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Yeah, consider this. The stacked ensemble, based on past data, gives Arsenal the nod, right? Maybe around that 65% accuracy mark historically. But the Monte Carlo sim puts a 1-0 Arsenal win and a 0-0 draw at almost identical probabilities, both around 19%. So the question is, Which of those specific outcomes, a narrow 1-0 Arsenal win or a 0-0 stalemate, would actually feel more surprising to you if it happened on match day?
That's a good question.
And what does your answer tell you about your own expectations versus what the data suggests? How about that gap between sophisticated analysis and the beautiful, sometimes baffling unpredictability of a high-stakes football match? Something to ponder.